The room was dark and cold. Metal walls reflected the faint glow of dim lights above. In the middle of the room, a young alien girl sat on the floor, her small body chained to the wall. Her platinum white hair was messy, tangled with dirt and dust, and her large violet eyes stared at nothing. She shivered from the cold, but more from fear. The chains bit into her thin wrists, leaving red marks, and the floor was hard and rough against her knees. She had not eaten properly for days, and her tiny stomach ached. She looked around the cage that held her, trying to find a way out. Her cell was tiny, with sharp edges and no comfort. Every time she moved, the chains rattled, echoing through the empty hall. She could hear alien voices outside, deep and harsh, commanding each other. Sometimes a guard came near her cell, pushing her roughly or shouting words she didn't understand. Each visit made her flinch, shrinking her small body against the wall. The girl whispered softly in her alien language, her voice barely audible. "Please, don't leave me. Don't hurt me." But no one listened. Her words fell into the emptiness unheard. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but she quickly wiped them. Afraid someone would see her weakness, she had learned quickly. Crying only made the guards angrier. Memories of her family flashed through her mind. She remembered being taken from her home, her family torn apart. She remembered seeing other young aliens chained, sold, or taken away. She had tried to help them once, but the guards had beaten her. Now she was alone. She felt small, weak, and hopeless. She wanted to scream, but her throat was dry and fear held her back. Suddenly, the door to the hall opened with a loud click. 2 alien guards walked in, their boots echoing on the metal floor. One reached into the cage and pushed her roughly. She fell to the ground, scraping her knees. Pain shot through her legs, but she barely cried out. She pulled herself up and pressed her back against the wall, shaking. The guards laughed at her weakness and left, the door closing behind them with a heavy thud. For a moment, the girl lay on the cold floor, her body aching, her mind racing. She whispered again to herself, "I must survive. I will not give up. Someone, anyone, please help me." She closed her eyes, imagining a world outside these walls, a world of warmth, sunlight, and freedom. The thought made her chest ache with longing, but it also gave her a tiny spark of hope. Meanwhile, in a shadowed corridor outside, a human medic moved quietly. His uniform was clean, and a small emblem marked him as a human helper. He had heard about the alien prisoners, but seeing this small girl chained made his heart tighten. His steps were careful. He didn't want to be seen by the guards. His eyes scanned the cell as he peered through the bars. When he saw her, he froze. There was something in her eyes that pulled at him, a mixture of fear, hope, and intelligence. The girl noticed him through the bars. At first, she thought it was a trick, another guard in disguise. But his posture, his calm and careful movements told her something different. He didn't yell. He didn't push. He simply looked at her. Slowly, she stretched her tiny hands toward him, fingers brushing against the cold metal. "Please, help me," she whispered, her voice shaking. The medic crouched down, careful not to make any sudden moves. I will try," he whispered back in soft, careful words. He knew that one wrong step could mean death for both of them. Suddenly, alarms blared across the facility. Red lights flashed and a loud siren filled the air. Guards would be coming soon. He had to act quickly. The girl's heart raced. She pressed her body against the wall, her chains rattling as she tried to stay calm. She had never felt hope like this before, and the fear of losing it made her stomach twist. The medic's eyes scanned the locks, the chains, and the surrounding area. He knew the risk, but he also knew that leaving her here would be unforgivable. He whispered again, barely audible, "Hold on. I will get you out. I promise." The girl felt a small warmth in her chest. For the first time in days, maybe weeks, she believed that someone cared. She looked at him, her violet eyes wide, glimmering with the tiniest spark of hope. The chains still held her tightly, but her mind began to imagine freedom. Outside, footsteps grew louder. The medic had only moments to decide. He looked back at the girl, then at the approaching guards. The facility was dangerous, and failure meant death. Yet something inside him pushed him forward. He took a deep breath, crouched lower, and began moving toward the chains. The girl's small hands reached out again, trembling, and in that instant the story paused. The moment of choice, the spark of hope, and the suspense of what would happen next. The audience is left wondering, will the human succeed? Will the girl be freed? Or will the darkness of the facility swallow them both? The dim corridor smelled of metal and oil. The human medic crouched behind a large ventilation pipe, listening to the echoes of alien guards patrolling the hall. His heart beat fast, but his mind was sharp. He had seen the girl in chains, and he couldn't leave her there. Every second she remained in that cell was another second of pain, fear, and loneliness. He had to find a way to free her, but the facility was designed to trap prisoners forever. He studied the map he had memorized, tracing the routes in his mind. Cameras hung from the ceiling, their red lenses blinking as if they were watching him personally. Motion sensors lined the walls, and every corridor had at least 2 guards at all times. One wrong step and alarms would sound. He knew he could not rush. Patience was the only way. Meanwhile, inside her cell, the alien girl pressed herself against the wall, her chains rattling softly. Her violet eyes flicked toward the shadowed corridor where the medic had disappeared. She remembered his promise. "I will get you out. I promise." The memory of his words gave her courage, a small flame in the dark. Slowly, she began to study her chains. The metal was old, scratched, and slightly bent in places. If she could just find a weak spot. But she had no tools, no strength, and no time to experiment alone. The medic returned silently, slipping past guards who never suspected a human could move so quietly. He placed a small bag near the cell bars. Inside were a few basic supplies, a water flask, some compact food, and a small multi-tool. He whispered through the bars, "Take this. It might help you, if you are brave." The girl's hands shook as she reached for the bag. She had never received kindness like this before. Slowly, she untied the little knots the medic had prepared, freeing the items inside. Her hands were trembling, but she felt a strange sense of hope and trust growing inside her chest. The medic crouched lower, scanning the hall again. He had been watching for hours, noting guard rotations, camera blind spots, and the timings of security patrols. Tonight was the night he would make his first attempt. He explained his plan in soft whispers to the girl. "I will unlock one chain at a time. You have to stay calm and quiet. If you make noise, the alarms will sound. Do you understand?" The girl nodded quickly, gripping the tools tightly. Her small fingers felt the cold metal of the chains, tracing their edges as if memorizing every curve. Hours passed like minutes. The facility was quiet except for distant mechanical sounds, the hum of machinery, the clatter of distant guards, and the occasional hiss of pressurized air. Every step the medic took had to be precise. He inserted the multi-tool into the first lock. The mechanism clicked softly and the chain fell to the floor with a dull clang. The girl's breath caught. One chain down, but many more to go. Suddenly a noise echoed from down the corridor. The medic froze, listening. 2 guards were walking toward the cell, their boots heavy and deliberate. He held up a hand to the girl. She froze, her heart pounding in her chest. They crouched low, hiding in the shadows of the bars. The guards paused, glanced around, and then moved on. The girl exhaled slowly, relieved but terrified. The medic continued, unlocking the next chain. This one was trickier. It had an electronic component that could trigger an alarm if tampered with incorrectly. He carefully adjusted the multi-tool, his hands steady despite the adrenaline rushing through his veins. The lock clicked and the chain fell. The girl's eyes widened, a small smile breaking through her fear. She whispered softly, "Thank you." The night was far from over. The medic knew the hardest part was yet to come, getting the girl out of the facility alive. He had studied a potential escape route, a maintenance tunnel that led to the outer wall, but it was heavily guarded and monitored by cameras. Every second outside the cell increased the risk. One mistake and both of them could be captured, or worse. As he explained the plan, the girl listened intently, nodding. She could feel her heart racing, fear mixed with excitement. For the first time, she felt like someone believed in her, someone was willing to risk everything for her freedom. She clenched her fists, ready to follow him anywhere, trusting this human completely. The medic whispered a final warning. "We move in 5 minutes. Stay calm, follow my lead, and don't make a sound. I promise we will see freedom, if we are careful." The girl took a deep breath, her small chest rising and falling rapidly. She felt a flicker of courage she didn't know she had. Time seemed to stretch endlessly. Outside, the facility's lights flickered, casting long shadows across the walls. The guards moved methodically, unaware that a human and a tiny alien girl were about to challenge everything. The tension was thick, almost tangible, Like a heavy fog that filled the corridor, every noise, every movement could be the difference between life and death. The medic adjusted his bag, ensuring the tools were ready. The girl checked her hands, her eyes locking with his for a brief moment. No words were needed. They both understood the stakes, the danger, and the hope. The first step of their journey had begun, and there was no turning back. Outside, distant sirens wailed, a warning, a countdown. Every second now was critical. The medic motioned to the girl, his voice barely audible. "It's time." The girl nodded, gripping her chains and tools tightly. They were about to step into the unknown, into danger, and into a chance for freedom that neither could guarantee. And with that, the suspense hung heavy in the air, leaving the audience wondering, would their dangerous plan succeed? Or would the facility claim them both? The facility was alive with quiet noises, the hum of machinery, the occasional hiss of steam, and the distant steps of alien guards. The human medic crouched beside the small alien girl, keeping his movements slow and deliberate. Every second counted, and one wrong move could trigger alarms, ending everything. The girl's violet eyes were wide with fear and determination. She clutched the small tools he had given her, her hands trembling but ready. "Stay close," the medic whispered, pressing his finger to his lips. She nodded, understanding immediately. No words were needed. Her trust in him had grown in the past hours, and now they had to rely on each other completely. He checked the corridor one more time. The path to the maintenance tunnel was narrow, and guards moved in unpredictable patterns. He counted their steps, memorized the pauses, and waited for the perfect moment. "Now," he whispered, and they slid quietly from the shadows, stepping carefully over metal grates and broken tiles. The girl's chains clinked softly with each movement, but she held herself perfectly still, matching the medic's pace. As they reached the first corner, a guard suddenly appeared ahead, turning his head in their direction. The medic froze, pressing the girl against the wall, her small body pressed tightly into his side. The guard's boots echoed closer, then passed, and the medic exhaled quietly. One close call, and already their hearts were racing. They moved forward, reaching the first locked gate. The medic inspected the electronic lock quickly. He held up a hand to the girl. "Watch closely," he whispered. She nodded, her hands gripping the small tools tightly. He inserted the multi-tool, carefully bypassing the electronic system. Sparks flashed briefly, and a soft click echoed in the hall. The gate was open. The girl's eyes widened. "You did it," she whispered, a small smile breaking through her fear. The medic shook his head softly. "Not yet. Stay quiet. We're not safe." They continued, moving through narrow passages and dark corridors. Every shadow seemed like a threat, every sound a warning. The medic led her around corners, ducking under pipes and slipping past motion sensors. The girl's small feet made barely a sound, but each step made her heart pound. She could feel her courage growing, but also the weight of danger pressing down. Suddenly, a loud alarm blared behind them. A guard had discovered an empty cage. Red lights flashed across the walls, and distant shouts echoed. The medic grabbed the girl's hand. "Run!" he shouted, and they sprinted down the corridor. Chains rattled as she followed, fear giving her strength. The path was more dangerous than before. Guards blocked doors, corridors twisted, and cameras rotated unpredictably. The medic led her through a side passage, barely avoiding a security camera. The girl's hands were sweaty, her grip tight on the tools, but she ran without hesitation. For the first time, she felt a rush of adrenaline she had never known, a mix of fear, hope, and determination. As they turned another corner, a group of guards appeared ahead. There was no time to hide. The medic ducked into a small storage room, pulling the girl behind crates and broken machinery. They crouched low, holding their breath as the guards' footsteps echoed closer. The girl's small body trembled, but she stayed quiet, her trust in him absolute. The guards paused, looking around the hall suspiciously. One guard gestured, then they moved on. The medic exhaled slowly. "That was too close," he whispered. The girl nodded, her heart still racing. She realized that escaping the chains was only the first step. The real danger was the facility itself. They moved again, this time slower, more careful. The medic guided her through vents and narrow tunnels, teaching her to recognize safe spots and blind angles. The girl listened, absorbing every instruction. Her small mind was quick, and soon she was noticing things the medic hadn't: the weak locks, the quiet corners, and the timing of guard patrols. At one point, they reached a locked door leading to the maintenance tunnel. The medic inspected the electronic lock, his fingers moving quickly and precisely. Sparks flew as the lock disengaged and the door swung open. They were almost free, just a few more steps to the outer wall. But then a loud crash echoed from the floor above. Something heavy had fallen, alerting guards nearby. Red lights flashed again and alarms began to ring through the corridors. The medic grabbed the girl's hand, pulling her forward. "Move," he shouted. Her small feet carried her as fast as she could, chains clinking but her courage unbroken. They ran through the last corridor before the maintenance tunnel, their hearts pounding in unison. Outside, the facility walls were high and foreboding, but the first glimmer of moonlight shone through a small ventilation shaft. Freedom was close, yet danger surrounded them on all sides. The medic paused briefly, peering around the corner. "One more risk," he whispered. "We climb, we get out, and we run." The girl nodded, gripping his hand tightly. Together they would face the guards, the alarms, and the unknown. One step, one choice, and everything could change. And as they began to climb toward the tunnel, the audience is left on edge. Will they escape the first attempt? Or will the facility's walls swallow them whole? Suspense and fear fill every second, making it impossible to look away. The maintenance tunnel was narrow and cold, but it was the first place the alien girl had ever felt a little safe. Her chains were gone, but the memory of their bite lingered on her wrists. She rubbed them gently, wincing at the scars, and glanced at the human medic beside her. He was checking a map of the facility, his brow furrowed in concentration. Despite the danger, she felt a strange comfort in his presence. "You're brave," the medic said quietly, not looking at her. She blinked, surprised. No one had ever called her brave before. Guards only saw weakness, cruelty, and fear. I had to survive," she whispered, her voice soft and trembling. The medic finally looked at her, eyes warm but serious. "It's more than surviving. You faced fear, pain, and chains, and you kept moving. That's courage." She felt a small spark of pride in her chest, a feeling she had never known. For the first time, someone believed in her, really believed. As they moved deeper into the tunnel, the girl began to ask questions. Her alien language was simple but clear, and the medic patiently answered, explaining his presence and purpose. "I'm here because not all humans are cruel," he said. "Some of us want to help even if it's dangerous." She tilted her head, trying to understand. The idea that a human could risk their life for her was almost impossible to believe. Yet here he was, risking everything to free a small alien girl. They found a small alcove hidden behind a stack of pipes. The medic motioned for her to sit. "We need to rest even for a little," he whispered. The girl sat cross-legged, hugging her knees. Her eyes scanned the dark tunnel, alert to every sound. The faint hum of machinery, the distant footsteps of guards, and the soft drip of water from the ceiling. I was afraid," she admitted quietly. "Afraid I would never see the sky again." Her voice cracked, and the medic put a hand on her shoulder gently. "I know," he said, "and that's why I'm here. You don't have to face this alone anymore." Her violet eyes met his, and for the first time, she allowed herself to trust someone completely. They shared small stories in whispers, trying to distract from the fear around them. The girl spoke of her family, of a planet filled with silver forests and glowing rivers. She spoke of the day she was captured, the pain of separation, and the loneliness that followed. The medic listened silently, occasionally nodding, never interrupting. His presence alone made her feel safe, almost like she had a family again. Suddenly, a faint metallic sound echoed through the tunnel. Both froze. The medic's hand tightened on a small tool he carried. The girl's eyes widened in alarm. What is that?" she whispered. "Maybe a guard," he said calmly, though his heart raced. "Stay behind me, stay quiet." They pressed against the wall, listening. The sound passed, leaving only silence. The girl exhaled slowly, relief washing over her. After a moment, the medic spoke again. "You're clever," he said. "I noticed you noticing the weak locks, the blind spots. You're learning fast." The girl smiled faintly, her fear easing just a little. I have to," she said simply. "I don't want to be caught again." He nodded, impressed by her determination and sharp mind. They continued through the tunnel, their bond growing stronger with every step. The girl began to move with more confidence, anticipating danger, watching for traps, and quietly guiding the medic past small obstacles. For the first time, she felt like she had a partner, someone who understood her, not a captor, not a guard, but a true ally. As they paused near a junction, the medic glanced at her. "We're getting closer to the outer wall," he said. "One more stretch and we might see the sky." Her small hands tightened around the tools. "The sky?" she whispered. The idea of freedom, of sunlight on her face, made her chest ache with longing. But danger was never far. Through a small vent, a faint red light flickered. The security system was active again. The medic's jaw tightened. "They're increasing patrols. We have to be faster." The girl nodded, her resolve firm. She could feel the fear in her chest, but it no longer controlled her. With the medic beside her, she felt capable, ready to face the unknown. For the first time in her life, the alien girl understood the strange, comforting feeling humans called hope. It was fragile, delicate, but it grew stronger with each quiet word, each shared glance, and each step toward freedom. She trusted the medic completely, and he trusted her in return. Together, they were no longer just a human and a captured alien. They were partners in a dangerous plan, bonded by fear, courage, and a shared dream of escape. And as the tunnel stretched ahead, dark and twisting, the audience felt the tension rise. Freedom was close, but the next step could be their last. Every sound, every shadow, every heartbeat mattered. The suspense hung heavy in the air, promising danger, excitement, and an emotional journey that would keep viewers on the edge of their seats. The moment they stepped out of the tunnel, the alien girl gasped. Moonlight spilled across the cold metal floor, and for the first time in what felt like forever, she could see the sky. The stars were pale and distant, but they shone brighter than anything she had ever known in the dark cell. Her small hands reached toward the light, feeling freedom brush against her face. The human medic grabbed her hand quickly. "Don't stop now," he whispered urgently. "We have to move fast. Guards are nearby." His eyes scanned the surrounding walls, searching for patrols and camera lenses. Their escape had begun, but danger lurked at every corner. They sprinted down the narrow corridor leading to the outer gates. The girl's feet pounded on the metal floor, her chains long gone, but the memory of captivity still heavy in her mind. Her heart raced, but adrenaline gave her speed and courage. The medic ran beside her, guiding her past locked doors and ventilation shafts. Every step was calculated, every turn critical. Suddenly, a blaring alarm erupted from above. Red lights flashed wildly, reflecting off the walls in the girl's wide, frightened eyes. Guards were shouting, their boots echoing like thunder. "Run!" the medic shouted, pulling her along. She didn't hesitate. Fear and hope collided, pushing her forward with incredible strength. The first group of guards appeared ahead, blocking the corridor. The medic froze, quickly scanning for options. "We go left through the maintenance ladder," he whispered sharply. The girl followed, gripping the rungs tightly, climbing swiftly. The metal ladder creaked under their weight, but they ignored it, hearts pounding with every step. At the top, they reached a narrow catwalk that overlooked the central courtyard of the facility. Below, armed guards moved in patterns, searching for intruders. The girl's breath caught in her throat, but the medic whispered, "We have to drop down, land softly, and run to the wall." She nodded, courage gripping her small chest. They jumped, landing on the cold ground with a dull thud. Pain shot through her legs, but she quickly shook it off. The courtyard was open, and they were exposed. Guards spotted them immediately. "There, after them!" someone shouted, and the chase began in full force. The medic grabbed the girl's hand, and they ran as fast as their legs could carry them. The courtyard was filled with crates, pipes, and obstacles. Each one offered a chance to hide or slow the guards, but every wrong step could alert more patrols. The girl darted between crates, her small body agile and quick. For the first time, she felt alive, not just surviving, but truly fighting for her freedom. The guards fired warning shots. The whistling of bullets echoed through the metal walls. The girl ducked instinctively, pressing close to the medic. He pulled her low, keeping her safe. "Keep moving," he shouted. Her legs burned, her lungs ached, but determination carried her forward. She couldn't let fear win now. They reached a narrow alley that led to a side exit. 2 guards blocked the path, weapons raised. The medic grabbed a small metal pipe and swung it with precision, knocking the first guard off balance. The girl, remembering what he had taught her, kicked a loose crate toward the second guard, creating just enough distraction to slip past. Together, they raced toward the final stretch. The outer wall loomed ahead, taller than anything the girl had seen. A ladder leaned against it, their only escape. The medic scrambled up first, pulling the girl with him. Her small hands gripped the rungs tightly as her muscles screamed in protest. Below, the guards were gaining ground, shouting orders and firing blinding lights. One wrong move and it would all be over. Halfway up, the girl stumbled. Panic surged through her chest. The medic's hand shot out, catching her just in time. "Don't look down. Focus on the top," he yelled. Her eyes locked onto the moonlit sky above. Step by step, she climbed, trusting him completely. Every movement felt like an eternity, but finally they reached the top. They tumbled onto the other side, gasping for breath. Freedom was only a few feet away, a stretch of open land beyond the facility's walls. But the danger wasn't gone. Guards were already scaling the wall behind them, lights flashing and alarms screaming. The medic grabbed the girl's hand and sprinted across the open field, her small legs carrying her faster than she ever thought possible. Somewhere in the distance, a soft wind blew through the tall grass. The girl's hair whipped across her face, but she didn't stop. The medic's grip was steady, guiding her, protecting her. For the first time, the facility felt like a shrinking nightmare, fading behind them with each desperate step. Finally, after what felt like hours but was only minutes, they reached the edge of the facility. The last guard shouted, but the medic and the girl didn't look back. They dove into the cover of the forest beyond, hiding among shadows and trees. The facility's lights grew smaller, the alarms dimmed, and for the first time they were alone. The girl collapsed to the ground, breathing hard, tears mixing with sweat. "We made it," she whispered, barely able to speak. The medic sat beside her, his own chest heaving. "Not just yet," he said softly. "We're safe for now, but we have to keep moving." She nodded, exhausted but alive, a small smile breaking through her fear. In that moment, the bond between them grew stronger. They had survived the ultimate chase, faced danger together and survived. And as they caught their breath under the moonlight, the audience felt the thrill of escape, the tension of the chase, and the deep emotional connection forming between the two. The forest was dark, but the air smelled of freedom. The human medic and the small alien girl ran through the underbrush, their feet barely making a sound on the soft earth. Above them, the moonlight filtered through tall trees, casting long shadows that danced as they moved. For the first time in days, the girl felt the wind on her face and the taste of fresh air. But freedom was not yet guaranteed. "Stay close," the medic whispered, scanning the darkness. His eyes darted toward any movement, any sound that might signal the pursuing guards. They had survived the facility's outer walls, but the alarms had alerted every patrol in the area. Safety was temporary and danger could strike at any moment. The girl clutched his hand tightly, her small body trembling. "Are we really free?" she asked, her voice soft and uncertain. The medic shook his head gently. "Not yet. We have a few more miles to go. There's a safe place, a human settlement where no guards will follow us. But we must move carefully. One wrong step now and we could lose everything." They moved quietly, slipping through the shadows and avoiding open areas. Every rustle of leaves made the girl jump. She was exhausted, her muscles sore from the endless running, climbing, and fear. Yet a strange determination pushed her forward. Freedom was close, and she would not let it slip away. Suddenly, the medic stopped abruptly. "Shh," he whispered, pressing her against a tree. Ahead, 2 guards were moving through a clearing, flashlights sweeping the ground. The girl's eyes widened. They were so close. The medic took a deep breath, calculating their next move. "We wait until they pass," he said. The girl nodded, hiding behind the tree, her small body pressed tightly to his side. Minutes felt like hours. The guards moved slowly, speaking in low, harsh voices. Then finally they disappeared into the darkness, unaware of the pair crouched just a few feet away. The medic exhaled slowly, relieved, but he knew the risk wasn't over. "We go now," he whispered, leading her forward. As they approached a small river, the girl noticed the water shimmering under the moonlight. "Can we rest?" she asked, her voice barely audible. The medic shook his head. "We can't, they might be tracking us. Just a few more steps, then we can rest safely." Her small shoulders slumped, but she kept moving, trusting him completely. Then a sudden sound shattered the quiet. A branch snapped underfoot. Both froze. Ahead, a guard had appeared, alerted by the noise. The medic pushed the girl behind a bush, holding a small dagger tightly. The guard scanned the area, flashlight sweeping dangerously close. The girl's heart pounded in her chest, fear and adrenaline colliding into a tight knot. The medic whispered, "Follow my lead." He grabbed a loose rock and threw it in the opposite direction. It clattered loudly and the guard turned, shouting in alarm. Taking advantage of the distraction, the medic pulled the girl forward. They ran through the darkness, the forest swallowing their footsteps. The danger had reminded them how fragile freedom could be. Hours passed as they navigated through dense trees, fallen logs, and uneven ground. Exhaustion threatened to overtake them, but the medic never slowed. He encouraged the girl, telling her to focus on the goal, the safe human settlement where she would finally be free from chains and fear. Finally, as dawn approached, they reached the edge of a cliff overlooking a small valley. In the distance, smoke rose from chimneys, the settlement. The medic paused, letting the girl catch her breath. She gazed down at the tiny cluster of buildings, hope and relief flooding her chest. She was almost free, but the price of freedom was clear. Behind them, the distant sound of pursuit grew louder. Not all guards had given up. Some had tracked them through the forest, and the medic knew that escaping the last stretch would be the most dangerous part. He looked at the girl, his eyes serious. "We have to be smart. We run together, we stay quiet, and we don't look back. Are you ready?" The girl nodded, gripping his hand tightly. Her body ached, her small legs burned, but determination outweighed exhaustion. They leaped from the cliff, landing in the underbrush below. Pain shot through her legs, but she pushed through it, following the medic as he led the final dash toward the settlement. The last 100 meters were the hardest. Open ground stretched before them, and any guard could spot them. The medic grabbed the girl, pushing her forward, urging her to run faster than she ever had. Her small lungs burned, her heart raced, but every step brought her closer to safety. Behind them, a single alarm bell rang from the facility. One guard remained in pursuit. The medic glanced back briefly, then focused on the settlement ahead. "Almost there," he whispered. "Keep going." The girl's legs trembled, but she ran, driven by hope, fear, and the promise of freedom. Finally, they reached the settlement. Human guards spotted them immediately but recognized the medic. Relief washed over the girl as they were ushered into safety. She collapsed to the ground, breathing hard, tears streaming down her face. Freedom was real. For the first time, she could feel it without fear. The medic sat beside her, his own body exhausted. He looked at the girl, noting the scars, the fear, and the strength she had shown. "You're free now," he said softly. "No one can hurt you here. Not anymore." The girl smiled faintly, her violet eyes shining with a mixture of relief and gratitude. Yet, even in freedom, the cost was visible. Her small body bore the marks of captivity. The scars on her wrists, the fear in her eyes, and the memories of chains would stay with her. Freedom had been won, but at a price: the struggle, the danger, and the near loss of life. And as the sun rose over the settlement, the audience felt the weight of that price, the relief of survival, and the anticipation of what new challenges might come. Freedom was achieved, but the story was far from over. The first rays of sunlight pierced through the trees, casting a soft glow on the settlement below. The small alien girl sat on a wooden bench, her platinum white hair catching the light. For the first time in her life, she felt safe. The chains were gone, the cages behind her were far away, and the human medic who had risked everything for her was beside her. Resting but alert, she looked around the settlement, watching humans move about their daily tasks, cooking, repairing, and talking. Everything felt new and strange, yet comforting. The medic had explained that this place was hidden from the cruel forces of the facility, a haven for those who sought freedom. Her violet eyes sparkled with a mixture of wonder and cautious hope. "You're safe now," the medic said gently, breaking the silence. He had a small smile, though exhaustion shadowed his features. "No one can hurt you here. Not anymore." The girl nodded, swallowing hard as tears of relief pooled in her eyes. She wanted to believe him completely, and slowly she felt the heavy weight of fear begin to lift from her chest. The medic stood and stretched, then looked down at her. "I should tell you something," he said softly. "The world outside isn't all dark and cruel. There are places where kindness exists and people who care. This settlement is one of them. You can start over, learn, grow, and be free." The girl listened intently, every word filling her with a strange, unfamiliar warmth. For a moment, silence settled between them. The air was calm, broken only by the soft hum of life in the settlement. She dared to ask, her voice barely a whisper, "Will I ever see my family again?" The medic's eyes softened. "I don't know," he admitted. "But you are alive. You have a chance to build a life now, to heal, and maybe one day, to reunite with those you love." The girl hugged her knees, thinking about the family she had lost, the friends she had never known, and the cruel hands that had chained her. Her mind flashed back to the cold cell, the guards, and the endless fear. She shivered, but then she looked at the medic and a small smile formed. For the first time, she felt something stronger than fear: hope. Over the next few days, the medic helped her adjust to life in the settlement. She learned how to eat without fear, how to sleep safely, and how to move without constantly watching the shadows. The children in the settlement were curious but gentle, and she slowly began to play, laugh, and even speak. Her violet eyes brightened, reflecting the sunlight she had only dreamed of seeing. One morning she approached the medic, holding a small handmade flower she had picked from the forest. "For you," she said softly. Her voice was shy but sincere. The medic accepted it with a gentle nod, touched by her gesture. "Thank you," he replied. "This is very special." The simple act marked a bond that had grown stronger with every trial, every danger, and every quiet moment in the forest. Though freedom had been won, the scars of the past remained. Sometimes she would wake in the middle of the night trembling, remembering chains and cages. But the medic was always there, a steady presence reminding her that she was no longer alone. Slowly she learned to trust the world again, to hope and to dream. Weeks passed and the settlement became home. The girl began exploring her surroundings, discovering new plants, rivers, and hidden nooks. She even started helping other children who had come from similar dark places. Her small heart, once filled with fear, now overflowed with compassion. The medic watched quietly, proud of her growth. He had saved her body, but she was now saving herself, learning to reclaim her spirit. One evening they sat on a hill overlooking the settlement, watching the sunset. The sky was painted with shades of orange and purple, a beauty the girl had never imagined. She leaned against the medic, feeling safe, warm, and alive. "I never thought I would see this," she whispered. "The sky, the sun, freedom." The medic smiled, his gaze on the horizon. "This is just the beginning," he said. "Life is full of choices now. You can explore, learn, and maybe find your family someday. But for now, you're alive, and that is what matters most." The girl nodded, her eyes reflecting the sunset. She understood that life would still have challenges, but she also knew that she was no longer powerless. As night fell, the settlement glowed softly with lanterns. The girl stood near the medic, looking at the stars once more. Chains were gone, cages were far behind, and the world was wide and full of possibilities. The journey of survival had ended, but her journey of life was just beginning. Hope, trust, and courage had taken root in her heart, stronger than any fear she had ever known. And in that quiet, beautiful night, the audience could feel the resolution. The girl was free. The medic had kept his promise, and a new life awaited. Freedom had been won at great risk, but it was real. The story ended not with fear, but with hope, courage, and the promise of a future where even the smallest, weakest soul could thrive.